This is our project on social class inequality by Justice Alex and Baljeet. What is social class inequality? Social class inequality is about the harmful and limiting effects that is towards the social class, social status, and social circles of individuals. Social classes are the ranking amongst people in society. Social status is the title held by an individual among society. And social circles are the group that individuals are classified in by their society. How does social class inequality affect society? First off, social class inequality is harmful and limiting to individuals. It can affect their livelihood and maybe even cause stereotypes to those individuals, such as their gender, race, and/or wealth. Does social class inequality vary around the world? Yes, it does. Every country has their own form of social class inequality, such as their economy, which leads to wealth, which equals greater power, where power plays a big part of their social class, statuses, and circles. Social class inequality exists because of how their government, culture, or economy, such as capitalism, can greatly form these social classes, statuses, and circles.
German philosopher, writer, and economist Karl Marx was born in a time of great change. The Industrial Revolution resulted in a complete change of the workplace. People moved from villages to big cities in search of work. There they found jobs in factories owned by private, unmonitored companies, which are owned by owners. The owner is motivated by the profit of his company and nothing else, and is always willing to cut corners to save money. Workplace safety and working conditions were never the first thought, let alone environmental damage. During this time, Karl Marx witnessed a dramatic shift and observed extreme inequality between the owner and the worker. He criticized the system of capitalism in his works, providing examples of working conditions and exploitation of workers in England, where he spent some of his life. And from his observations came his social class theory. The century was, in short, like the Wild West. People and companies were left to their own accords, and the government stayed out of their affairs. The idea was that the economy will sort itself out without the help and guidance of the government. And yes, during the Industrial Revolution, European countries advanced at rapid rates, but in expense for people and human rights. The central idea or ideology of capitalism is that the individual is fully responsible for their own fate. This means every success and failure can only be put on the individual. At this time, owners and companies use this idea of meritocracy to justify their superiority over the workers. The idea of meritocracy is the idea that social inequality is due to inequality of talent or merit, rather than discrimination or prejudice. This is the same idea that later fueled corporate America and the corporate hierarchy in the 20th century. And so, workers were thrown into unsafe conditions, they were underpaid, overworked, and very expendable. Eventually, they lost their family craft and became de-skilled, because anyone can work the conveyor belt job. The result is inequality, but most importantly, it was justified inequality. The social class theory was an attempt by Karl Marx to organize people in the social world based on occupation, education, and wealth. According to his theory, there are two main groups, the bourgeoisie and the proletariat. The bourgeoisie are typically factory owners, entrepreneurs, and they have considerably more capital than the proletariat. The proletariat are the factory workers and other working class people that are often just making ends meet. This theory is also called the conflict theory because it shows the natural inequality between the owner and the worker. A subcategory of the bourgeoisie is the petite bourgeoisie, which consists of higher education professionals such as lawyers, doctors, and sometimes teachers. Each group had their own social circle, but only the petite bourgeoisie had contact with the other two groups. The bourgeoisie and the proletariat are so contrasting that they began to develop prejudice towards each other. According to Karl Marx, the proletariat will eventually rise up and overthrow the bourgeoisie. Marx called it the global workers' revolution. This is when the workers unite through class consciousness and shared experiences in the workplace and overthrow the bourgeoisie. Ideally, the workers would own the means of production and the product they produce. the profit and the wealth of the company would be evenly distributed among the workers. The idea of global revolution gave way to reforms addressing the harsh working conditions and created unions that practiced the rights of workers. On the more extreme side, this led to actual revolutions in the name of global communism, such as in the Soviet Union. The danger of the word of Karl Marx is that he believed the global workers' revolution should happen no matter the cost, because it was for the greater good. This led to many violent confrontations and even civil wars during the 20th century.
Base and superstructure is developed by contemporary Marxists that help to explain Marx theory. These two elements are further divided into two parts. So basically, it is a theoretical framework that charts the different parts of the society and how the elements interact. The first element is base. Base is considered as the economic foundation of the society. According to Marx, this is economic structure that really determines the economic condition. It is the first level considered as the economic means of production. These are the raw materials that are needed for survival. It is considered as how those raw materials are converted into things that we need for our survival. Therefore, Marx said that this is the process of physically producing everything that we need for our survival, and this is the social production of people's life. Therefore, in producing those materials and goods that we need for our survival, we need to relate to one another. Therefore, these relations forms the next level of base, that is relations of production. It is the second level to the economic base. These are the relationships that the workers form with the co-workers and employees form with their employer. In other words, the economic base explains not only the actual good produced and how they are produced, but it also explains the relationship that people form themselves. So after the economic base rises a legal and political superstructure. It is the first level of superstructure. It consists of particular political system that society forms, the form of government laws and policies, etc. It is basically about who controls what. And above this is state, which consists of all other institutions such as school, friends, family, culture, religion, etc. Marx's ideology is made in this part of superstructure. Ideology is inherently based upon the justification of inequality. It is the way of thinking that supports and justifies the ruling class position of powers. Further comes social stratification. It is the society's hierarchical ranking of people into social classes. The social stratification is further divided into four principles. The first and foremost principle of it is all the societies redistribute the materials. It is necessary for survival of its social members, for example, food, money, and social prestige. The second principle of social stratification is that the system is stable, that your position in the society is generally handed down from your parents. For example, if your parents are working class, and more than likely you too will be working class. The third principle is present in all known societies. There are variations in however it is expressed. For example, in our society, status is granted through how much money we have, and in other societies, it is considered with individuals who give away wealth. The last and fourth principle of social stratification is that the belief that system is fair. This is of course a part of ideology and a false conscience that Marx explained about.